Hello, everybody. How you doing today? I'm Jesse Noriega, Executive Director for the Greater Quad Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to another episode. As always, before this is done, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions for us, please put them down below and reach out to us. But today, just like all the others, we have another special one. But first, my co-host is back with me this week.
How you guys doing? Emmanuel Juarez. We are back, and we have a great episode today, so we're excited to introduce our guest here today. Jesse, you want to introduce him?
Yes, we have the new incumbent mayor, Ashley Harris of Rock Island, Illinois.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Please introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are.
My name is Ashley Harris. People have been calling me mayor-elect, so, it must be some truth in that. I will be the newly elected mayor for the city of Rock Island. I'm very excited. That was a mountain to climb and a tree to chop down, but I'm glad we made it to the mountaintop. And just like this view, we can see all good things.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time and joining us. Like I said, I know you're very busy, along with all the other mayors that we've been lucky enough and blessed enough to have on our podcast so far, because, everyone's been busy, and with seasons changing and summer coming, it's just that time of year. So I'm imagining you're getting calls from everybody.
Yeah, the city is somewhat unfolding, right before my eyes. A lot of people, organizations that I wasn't aware of previously, now I'm aware of. And, it's really about building more relationships, more of an intimate one that the city is accustomed to, and, just moving forward from there.
Excellent. Well, like we said, this is not really a interview, just a conversation, and hopefully
so I can relax?
You can relax.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we're looking for. We want you to
relax.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
No, we're not going to drill you with question after question and jot them down. We just want to know the real Ashley Harris, you know, and hopefully you get to know the real us, and the people out there watching us get to see what we're all about and can help follow what Rock Island's doing and hopefully be involved.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, assisting Rock Island in moving at a quicker pace, on somewhat of a different trajectory. I'm not coming here being a problem solver. I'm coming in here to be a solution supporter, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, in that parameter, I'm never looking to be the smartest person in the room. But the difference between this administration and previous administrations is we're supporting all agents of change. We're encouraging all agents of change, full-fledged. And, I stand on that. I'm not here to politic. I'm here to people, if you know what I mean. And, just like I tell everybody, I'm here for you. I'm here to be a true perfect public servant by definition. And if I stick to those principles, myself as well as the city, we won't have any problems.
Good. Well, I do know, and Emmanuel, this is one thing. We had to sit down and talk prior a couple weeks ago. And he is also a Quad Cityan lifelong, not new to the area or an incoming. He's been here, he went to high school here and so forth. So, yeah, he knows and seen a lot of the growth in the Quad Cities. But, from your end, he's an insert here. He hasn't been here forever.
Okay. Well, the body won't reject you.
No, not at all.
Good blood. Yeah.
Very good blood, very good community. They have taken me in, and this is my home now. Quad Cities is my home. I'm originally from Los Angeles, made our way to Nebraska, and then made our way to the Quad Cities. And this is my home. This is my home.
And that is special, because you are from, whoever doesn't like Four Seasons, they would say that you're from a better climate. More, with a bigger population on the West Coast, is more amenities, more things to do. So for you to come to the Midwest, to the Quad Cities, that's an honor. Thank you. And especially to call it your home. So I greatly appreciate that.
I love this community, man. It's a hidden gem in the world. This place. Yeah. It is such a hidden gem. And I get it. People that raise here, sometimes they're like, oh, I got to get out of here. I got to go somewhere else. But being able to have traveled the world and see what's out there, we have such a unique place here.
Yes, we do.
To have the ability to speak with mayors and speak with elected officials and to converse and to reason and to just to have some dialogue on what's going on in our communities, what's going on in our surrounding communities, and how can we help? How can we touch the new generation coming up, affect them and influence them, and to hopefully steer them into a better path, into ways that are going to change the coming generations and the ones that are looking up to them.
No doubt about it.
So I see. How do you, what do you see in working with all the rest of the Quad Cities, the rest of the mayors? What does that look like for you? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about, you brought up the word hidden gem. So, with us having an ultimate goal of trying to increase our population, we don't want it to be a hidden gem.
Yes.
We just want it to be a gem, on display for everybody to visit and potentially move to. And, Rock Island, every city in the Quad Cities has two resumes, their own and one being a part of the Quad City. So, Quad City wide. And I want to comment on, you were talking about young adults, keeping them on the right path. I think it's very important to give them opportunity, employment opportunity. A lot of times, that's where a lot of, I can say problems, crime, distraction, a restless mind is the devil's playground. So, it's hard to teach a kid anything about financing, anything about adulting, if they can't be hands-on with it. And what hands-on looks like is, like I said, having a job, managing your money, while you still will live with your parents, and even after you branch off a little bit. So that's very important, just providing opportunity. And that will be good for the Quad Cities because, like I said, under that resume, we have a lot of room for development. We have a lot of room to attract new employers, new industries. If, look at this site, just off this Mississippi River alone, this is economic development right here, economic opportunity for all of the Quad Cities. So it's a lot of creative things to be explored that we haven't tapped into yet.
We're about to. And we're about to.
No doubt.
A lot of movement going on.
Yeah.
A lot of movement.
Yeah. And that's good, because like I said, we want to stretch out with us here in the Quad Cities as a whole. There's no reason why we couldn't promote and advertise as, a new Chicago or a new Quad Cities, if you will.
Sure.
And, like I said, we're looking to bring some attractions to attract people within the 3 or 4 hour radius. Yes. And the Quad Cities as the Quad Cities, that's very well within our capabilities.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's exciting because, obviously Bob Cervantes is a new mayor like you. And
Silvis.
Yes, yeah. Silvis. And he's very optimistic and excited about a lot of the same things you said about, he's wanting that change, he's wanting that growth. And I know we've touched on other episodes and I don't want to be too repetitive for everybody, but it's that younger generation too. They are really looking for that growth and that. And I love that you didn't want to be the problem solvers, you said. You want to help with the solutions.
Solution supporter.
Because there are a lot of organizations, and not just ours, of course, but there's a lot of organizations out there that are willing to help people start their business. People that have already started their business, help them stay in business. Yeah. There's a lot of people that want to help the youth and teach the youth, finances and education and stay away from crime or after school activities or, there's a lot of that around here that a lot of those organizations just need a little bit of helping hand or a little bit of maybe it's promotion or whatnot, just to know that they have the right people behind it. Because you're right. Yeah. There is a lot of that here through many organizations that, can hopefully get used to leaning on each other, helping each other, and really supporting to make some of those missions successful.
Sure. And, it's a very important time. It's a critical time. Everything you just mentioned were community building activities. And that's very important because right now, with the federal government, funding, grant money, it's tight right now. Yeah. So, it's very important for a community to come together, get creative, public and private organizations making collaborations like never before, because during these times, we're going to have to think outside of the box if we want to at least sustain or maintain our quality of life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even when I had taken this position over, that was a lot of things people had talked about was, well, with no funding and no grants, what are you guys going to do? What are you going to do? And I was like, most of our money comes from other businesses and other people that are looking to help the community, whether the business is doing more successful than others. And they're like, hey, you know what? I want to help the community. There's a lot of good. And you don't even necessarily have money. Some of the businesses and organizations are helping, maybe not financially, but with manpower or spreading the word. And really, like I've told everybody, this community has been really good for helping each other succeed without necessarily needing the outside funds. And granted, they're helpful when we need them. But without that, we figure out a way to survive, and everybody does seem to lean on each other good. So it seems like even though financially for some of the grants and funds that come out there, you and the mayors have kind of a task ahead of you. Yeah. But on the other hand, obviously there's a call for change. So,
It is. And the people have spoken, and they will continue to speak. To comment on those organizations that are looking for funding, and funding, may be drying up, across the sectors. But, what's important to mention about that is that's just like a good restaurant. If the food is good, you don't have anything to worry about. And how that relates to organizations is if the service is good, what you provide, even the customer service, then you guys will have nothing to worry about.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, that's just plugging into the community, in a different type of way. Money isn't everything. It's helpful. Yeah, we all want it. We all need it somewhat, but it's not everything. So it's a lot of organizations out here that just depend on the funding, forget the service forget the quality of customer service that they provide. They're just looking for that grant money. So when the grant money dries up, then, they're really out there because they don't have anything homegrown or anything genuine to attach to. So the Hispanic chambers, organizations like that with good customer service that's really have a passion for building community, even without the money, you guys will still be sustainable. Right. I believe that.
Well, good. So do I. I'm hoping so. And I think that, like I said, anyone that sees any needs for anything, and that's a great thing about all the mayors coming here is that, I don't think people realize that you guys are all accessible, that you guys all have that open door policy. Well, yeah, you might be busy, but if there's a concern, you guys are willing to hear it and help as much as you can, or at least get them in the right direction.
And, I do have an open door policy, but my policy has always been, you don't have to come to my door. I'm probably knocking on your door, and more so than just canvassing or campaigning. Like I said, I'm looking to build an intimate relationship with the citizens of Rock Island. I'm coming in with the mindset of me not working for 5 or 6 people, however, me working for 36,000 people.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So, when I keep that in scope, then that's one of the principles to where we won't have anything to worry about.
Good. Amazing. And I guess we talked about this with some of the other mayors. How do you see the workings with the locals, the other cities next to you and around you? I mean, I think everyone's kind of been on that we want to grow track, whether it's Moline and the railway station or East Moline and like where we're sitting right now, this whole area, what Reggie has done down here has been amazing. And now Bob's got some initiatives that he's working on too to get things going. How about you? I know you had told me some things about the port city.
Sure.
And what are some things with Rock Island that you're excited about?
Well, but before I get on that, I want to bring up the comparison about Emmanuel here being from a big city, and coming to a smaller area with the Quad Cities. One distinctive advantage with that is having direct access, having better access to local officials. We are more of a smaller company here, to where more times than not you may know the owner, or you may know senior management. And one of the benefits of that is for decision making, for direction, we're more engaged with the public. So the public has a better input in the decision making and the vision of their own city.
Good.
Now I'll revisit your question on, like as far as the Quad Cities is concerned. each city has their own, individual projects collectively, like I said, to build the Quad City. Rock Island, we have some possible developments coming along. I'm looking forward to those developing. We have some prime real estate that we need to be developing, and that will all come into play, with our new strategic plan, our new vision, because, I did mention to you that we are a port district now. And a lot of times, the Port District covers the whole city of Rock Island, and we'll be able to get grant money for infrastructure and projects related to that. But it's important for Rock Island to not stop there. We just can't sit back and just wait on grant money. Being a port district, we really need to work towards building industry. We really need to work towards attracting employers that can use our riverways and our rail systems. And just to put it all together, and the shortcomings that Rock Island may have, that's where we use our second resume of being a part of the Quad Cities. So anything that we need, anything that any other city needs, the other can complement or provide for them. So, we're all working together. Yes, we do have some in-house competition, but that's just like the same team practicing against each other. but if you will, it's game on, for the Quad Cities, because we're looking to get some immediate wins as well as some high caliber wins for the future.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people are excited. The downtown area is starting to come along.
Yes,
I mean, I know that was prior to you, but it'll be nice to have that off your plate.
And and even when the construction is done, everything will still be on plate, because we still have a downtown to build. We still have businesses to attract. We still have a vulnerable portion of the population that needs to be tended to. And right now, it's a lot of congregating in the district area, and we're looking to support them for a better way of life. Better way of life. That's what it's all about. And I want to bring up, children again, as well as, other citizens in the town. Very rarely do we have an opportunity to live our glory days here. Very rarely. And you would understand that, Emmanuel, from being from the West Coast. I'm sure out there you can remember the time of your life, whether it's beach, whether it's surfing, or whether it's just, watching a sunset, the time of your life. And Rock Island, the Quad Cities, we need to work towards providing that for all ages of our community, And I'm excited about that. Like I said, just to live glory days. I live my glory days. I'm here growing up in the Rock Island, but that was a long time ago. And in addition to that, my military service. But, after that, after I came back home, it's just been working. It's just been, tending to children, things like that. But nothing that I would consider like glory days. So we want to bring back the good old times, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service also.
Appreciate that.
We do appreciate it. And,
yeah.
On top of that, I do think, the glory day part of the Quad Cities would be nice to have. I mean, even for a while there, I remember coming up, and when I was actually growing up here, where we are sitting, IH was actually a functioning company at the time. International Harvester was right here. They were pushing out tractors, and I remember, my parents, working from anywhere, John Deere to IH to Frank's Foundry.
We had options.
We had a lot of options where good paying jobs and good people, and there were some glory days back then. The malls were packed.
Sure, you're right.
Stores all up and down Avenue of the Cities,
Even
and in
our
Rock Island downtown, 11th Street was full of stores. There, like every city had a whole area where you could go shop and do things, and it is getting scarce, but it is nice to see that things are starting to turn back around and recycle through, that we can have that second wind and have the glory days, as you say.
And even with your organization, Mr. Noriega, providing business services, providing opportunities, you're allowing glory days. You know, even as an entrepreneur, you know, coming up through the fire when days aren't so good, even before you turn a profit, you know, to some people, those are glory days. You know, like, man, I remember when, you know, we were sleeping on the couch or living out of the car or, you know, anything to get the business off the ground and make it sustainable. So people always remember those times, and you help people during those times. So as far as I'm concerned, you're doing your part as an agent of change to provide glory days, if you will. So let's just keep up the good work.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to help you. You know, like you said, the businesses downtown. I'm excited to help bring businesses in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to help, you know, whether they need insured and helping other businesses support them. You know, I think that's the big thing. And hopefully, because I know a lot of people out there don't necessarily know what, not just my organization, but a lot of organizations completely do. And it's like, call us. Even if you don't know if we can do it, even if we can't, maybe I don't, but Mr. Harris does. And I'm going to call Mr. Harris and say, hey, I got somebody that wants this in Rock Island, and I don't know how to go about it. You know, call us and call him, and he'll get you to us. We'll make it work.
And, you know, and actually on a real level, you know, we're building a civilization, you know, because I look at Rock Island, with everything that we don't have. You know, I look at Rock Island as it's our own planet. It's our own planet. And the question would be the things that we would have to go to the moon for, you know, Moline, Davenport, you know, things like that. If it's not on our planet, we have to leave and go get it. You know, a couple things that strike up to me is simple things. You know, I've been, you know, campaigning on the mayoral trail for a little while now, and I've had to dress up a little more. So I've been ironing my own clothes. It's very difficult to iron a suit. We need a dry cleaner service in Rock Island. You know, that's something that I would have to leave the planet for. You know, on a bigger scale than that, if we want to give childbirth, if we want to have a baby, you know, we have to leave our planet for that. So when we think about strategic plans, building a civilization for the downtown area, for other areas in Rock Island that need to be developed, you know, that's the mindset. What shouldn't we have to leave our planet for? You understand what I'm saying?
That I've never heard it that way, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So when you think about tough things in simple, practical manners, it's easy to come up with solutions. Like I said, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm just here to be a supporter of agents of change.
Right.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with, you know, when people come to us about businesses, you know, that would be a perfect thing. You know, people are like, well, I don't know what to do, or I want to be in business, but I'm not sure. What's missing? What's missing? They need a dry cleaner. You'd be the only one over there, and you'd be booming. You know,
exactly.
Look, nothing is new. It's there. You just got to find out. And like you said, if you're building a civilization, you know, it's what would you need? Well, they don't have this, and I can offer that. You know,
and I think it's very important that we also realize, you know, in strategic planning, that we realize that our youth, our young adults, they are literally the beginning of our economy, beginning of economic development. You know, if you give children, young adults, if you give them money, they are going to ignite the economy. They're going out to spend it. You know, kids, and that's a good thing. You know, kids save, but not as much as they spend. And if we can cater to our young crowd here, you know, we have a few different colleges throughout the Quad Cities, and those kids are looking for a good time. Those kids are looking to glory days, enjoy themselves. So if we can provide opportunity, employment opportunity for those kids, and kind of build businesses around that, build sectors around that, we will be well on our way to a sustainable economic development and economic path. Just something to think about. Yeah. Just something to think about, because, you know, we can't forget about them. You know, we don't want them. That's one area that we wouldn't want moving away to seek greener pasture. We want them here. And like I said, it's just collectively catering to them and providing opportunity and ways for them to spend their money and have a good time while they're doing it.
That's true.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be a pit stop throughout their education.
No,
where they come here and get the education.
We don't.
And then spread the wealth and knowledge that they learn to other areas.
And, and far too long, the ones that leave off for college, when they get a taste of, the real world, it's hard for them to come back to the Quad Cities. The only thing, they have to make sacrifices. The only thing typically that brings them back are looking after their elderly parents or their elderly grandparents or just wanting to be around family. But a lot of times they have to make sacrifices, employment opportunities or warmer weather, things like that. But everything that's within our control, we need to take a hard look at that so we can level up with other states and other surrounding districts around us.
Yeah, I think that the teamwork could be it's going to be really great over here as far as finding those spots that'll be a go-to hub for not just people within the Quad Cities to keep them to stay, but from people outside the Quad Cities to want to come in.
Because with the vicinity that we are to Chicago, 2.5 hours, due east. That is enough, not enough distance for us not to be able to attract, people from their suburbs. We just need things to attract them. I know, with them saying that Rock Island is landlocked, they say we're landlocked, so we can't expand as much as, let's just say, Davenport or Bettendorf with the luxury of endless cornfields. But one thing that Rock Island can do is we can build up. We have no skyline, we have no skyscrapers in Rock Island. A building like this, we don't have it in Rock Island. So, like I said, I keep on speaking on strategic plan because that is the plan, a new plan to move Rock Island in a complete different direction.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, that would be.
That's exciting.
That would be. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of history in Rock Island. We're rich. We're rich in a lot of things. It's just about identifying it, tapping into it, and finding a way to turn that into economic development. Whether it be financial gain for the citizens, whether it be a top-notch service provided to our community, but ultimately, like I said, we're trying to increase the quality of life, and we're trying to build our population up here, the Quad Cities as a whole.
Right. Well, and the economic development, I mean, that's the one thing that, a lot of people hear that, but I don't think they understand. Not everybody. Some people just don't understand the repercussions of not having it.
Sure.
And the benefits of having it, what it means for, more fire departments, more grocery stores, more hospitals. Yeah. I mean, there's so much more that's convenient for, us as citizens to be able to take advantage of that. The economic development isn't just, it isn't lining a politician's pocket. You know what I mean? But people just kind of don't understand. Well, what do you mean what do they mean by economic development?
Yeah.
Well, it's hospitals, it's fire departments,
social infrastructure.
It's
the
better
things,
schools.
The things that make a city attractive. People move to cities just for the schools, just for the hospitals, just for safe neighborhoods. We were talking about definitions. So, my definition of economic development is closer to the back end of things. People think economic development is just bringing in big box stores and different businesses. However, what economic development is to me is actually bringing in employers, actually building up the middle class. I throw this term around loosely, a good job. A lot of people that say they have a good job, well, 9 times out of 10, you don't work in Rock Island. You go elsewhere, to make your money. So when we can strengthen the middle class, when we can provide those opportunities for our young adults and our citizens of Rock Island to make money where they live, then that's where the true economic development comes from. I'll give you a scenario. We got some young adults and they all get paid on Friday. Next thing you know, like, man, I want to open up this tattoo shop or I want to open up this studio, mom and pop things. That is economic development. We just need to insert the opportunity for our young adults and for our citizens to make money. When they make money, they'll be the ones to create our economic development. So right. I don't look at it directly like that. I look at it as, okay, if we do this, economic development will take care of itself. And, we'll see some young people, trying to get financing for bigger projects, going to the banks to get those loans, building a credit history up. But, right now, all of that practically is for naught. So we have some steps to take to even build up to where we can sustain a community for economic development. We can bring in a big box store right now and wonder why in the next 4 or 5 years they're thinking about shuttering, they're thinking about moving. Like I said, we just need to build up the middle class here to have the financing here to sustain whatever we have here.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I believe. Those are my views on economic development.
No, that's good. And definitely, getting them youth to build them business. I mean, he's a young business owner. He's starting his own.
It's tough. And there's a lot of hurdles and lots of obstacles that one goes through.
Yeah.
And not necessarily you go to school, but you don't have the right education. It's like you're learning the things that they want you to learn, but you're not learning the exact things about the taxes, budgeting, credit cards, all those things.
Sure.
Which, I think would be beneficial to kind of, yes, they're getting the main core of their education at school, but having these other extra resources that they could go to, especially if they're, hey, I'm young and I'm selling stuff online, or I'm selling clothes online, or I'm selling things that, our young generation, they're moving, man. They are moving, and they're on it. They're on their phones, and they're doing it all by their phones.
Yes.
But just having those things like, okay, I got a business, I just started it. Taxes, sales taxes.
Yeah,
we're not taught these things. We're not taught insurances, permits. The health permits. We're starting a food business. We're not taught those things in school. So I think it'd be good if we could have a resource where, like, hey, the city hall's got it. They're open. They will teach you what I need, what I don't need. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want IRS coming after me. And we're not taught about that in school. So it's like, where else are we going to learn it? Be having our city halls as a resource, like, hey, you need this, and this, and then you're going to be good to go.
Yeah. All services catering to a thriving community. It's one thing to talk it, but it's another thing to really be about it. We could sit up here and talk on this podcast about, having all these services of support, but then actually never implement it. You'll never actually see that type of creativity within a city hall, with them having a business service department, with them having a nonprofit development department, with them having a grant writing specialist specifically for businesses, specifically for area nonprofits. That is thinking, that's creativity, and that's thinking outside the box, but it's a reflection of an administration, a city who wants the area to grow, who wants the area to get there at a smoother rate, even given the things that you can't learn in the school. So that's very important. I took note to what you just said, sir.
Right. It is.
Lived it. I've lived it, and it's something that I guess it could be it is still fresh in my mind. It says, it's like, there's so many people that have hunger. They got willpower, and they got that willingness to better themselves or better their families. But a lot of times they just don't know where to look. Yes, I can look it up, but I'm getting sent here and then I get sent over there. But something concrete where, like, okay, I'm doing things the right way. I kind of help a lot of a lot of people that don't speak English. So I've had to go through things the hard way. Opening up a food business, it's tough. It's tough, and we don't know the language. It makes things a little bit harder. But it's like they want to do it right. They'll pay whatever to do things the right way. Sometimes they just don't know where to go, and this is where I think we're going to be helping each other out. And I love this momentum that we're building with every city across the Quad Cities. For all of us, it's all for all of us. Like you said, it's for everybody.
No doubt about that.
Each restaurant that we get to go eat, a new place, hey, then they get to thrive and they get to feed their kids, and we get to have conversations at the restaurant, create new ideas, brainstorm at that new business. And it's so fruitful, man. It's just so fruitful.
Good point. And something that doesn't show up on the stat sheet is a community that's engaged with each other. A community that's together, because believe it or not, that has the opportunity of shoring up a lot of those things that, someone wouldn't know how to get in detail on. Hey, I don't know about, I can look it up. Like you said, I can look it up, but it's sending me here, sending me there. But when a community comes together, they naturally network, they naturally share ideas, they naturally teach each other. And most importantly is, we naturally learn. So if we have a community that's not together, then, that is breeding grounds for a cutthroat world.
Right.
And that's where, people make more mistakes than they normally would be, just because it's not that circle of people that you can bounce ideas off, that you can checks and balance, that, even somewhat hold you accountable. So community engaging, building a strong sense of community. Like I said, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but that will shore up a lot of the issues that a young entrepreneur or someone looking to better their lives, would encounter.
Yeah, and to go into that even further, that was kind of the very first time when you and I had a conversation. I felt that we weren't as accessible in the past, and a lot of people didn't realize that. I had so many people think you just have to speak Spanish to be part of the Hispanic Chamber. And I'm like, no, we'll help all businesses, And so just us not being out there and visual enough for people is that's part of the reason why we're doing the show. Is we want everybody to see and know and understand that we're here to help. And then that's why I made sure I reached out to you and everybody else to know that, hey, we're out of Moline, but I'm not just Moline. I'm the Quad Cities.
Quad Cities, QC.
And the greater Quad Cities. So I'm outside of there, and we'll do whatever we can to help those outside lining businesses also. And so, having that communication and people seeing, whether it's this today or one we do next week, or maybe just us all out at an event together, knowing that, well, okay, if Mr. Harris is okay with them and thinks they're good, and if those guys think Rock Island's really good too, then hey, let's open our thing in Rock Island also, or let's go talk to him because we don't know how to do this. And a lot of people are afraid to ask for that help, and that's a lot of the big part is, like you said, with people not knowing, they're just afraid to ask because they don't want to look like they don't know, and it's okay because guess what? I'm gonna tell everybody right now on camera, I don't know, but that's why I got him, and I have you, and I have a whole list of other people that will say, well, I know it. That's okay. You know? So I'm glad that'll hopefully come together, and that excitement with everything will hopefully help build these businesses everywhere. Because like you said, that's the glory days for them.
That's the goal, to have a thriving economy to where people can come here to make a better way, for people to come here, move here, and live a better way. For the people that are already here to where they can enjoy the area without thinking about moving away. So it's a lot of things. And, with collaboration, no one's taking one approach. We're hitting this thing at multiple different angles and multiple different levels. That's why, like I said, I'm a strong supporter for agents of change. Anybody who wants to provide a good service, anybody with a great idea that will help our community along. You have both my ears to the table. And more times than not, boots on the ground with me. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, that's good. Do you have any final questions for Mr. Harris?
What are you excited about progress in the next 5-10 years? Where do you see Rock Island going?
Yeah. Developing a new identity, and that means a lot of different things, perception and reality. When you think of Rock Island compared to the other Quad Cities, a lot of times it's a negative connotation. There is some small truths to that, and having tough conversations to come up with solutions to address that. So, in the next 5-10 years, like I said, I'm looking for Rock Island to be a strong hub for the middle class. I'm looking for us to build off of our Port District industry. I'm looking for us to have no undeveloped parts of town. With us being landlocked, I'm looking forward to us busting out at the seams. Nice. To where, like I said, if we are landlocked, to where we have no room for any more businesses. We're jam packed in there, and from there, with innovation, from there we get better. But the goal is to achieve that.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. And like I said, building our population up. Mm-hmm. That's very important. For more people to be here. Yeah. That will increase the tax burdens for our citizens here. Right now we're sitting right around 36,000 people, and our tax base is based off of about 51,000 people. So we want to address that. And we can't do that until we address our social infrastructure. So we're looking at identity, mm-hmm. Perception in our reality, and like I said, just developing an industry hub here for something. Yeah. So and I'm not even going to put the 5-10 year mark on that. Right. In 5 or 10 years, they're looking to rebuild or give maintenance services to our Centennial Bridge in Rock Island.
Oh yeah.
So that is on the 5 to 10 year plan. But everything else, no, we're getting there.
Yes.
We're getting there. I'm not even going to scare anybody by saying, 5-10 years down the road. I did not run my campaign speaking that kind of talk.
No.
Right.
Did not. No. I'm not. No, we're getting, the low hanging fruit. We're getting some quick wins mm-hmm. while we work on those long-term wins.
Sure.
But I'm expecting Rock Island as well as the Quad Cities to be winning along the way, if you will.
Yeah.
So there is a 5 to 10 year plan, but it's all about right now, sir. We're living in real time. Mm-hmm. We have, pressing issues. And we have other things, some glorious opportunity.
Yeah.
So real time, the time is right now. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm standing on. That's what I campaigned on. And that is going to be a way of life more so than just a campaign leading into a tenure.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to be very busy.
Yeah.
But that's good. Get it hot. Get it now.
Yeah.
Same thing that we're trying to do. We're doing it now, even though, we've been here since 2008. I feel like we just started. Just started. And, we were speaking on what formerly was called the West End Revitalization Project, the West Beginning Revitalization Project. There's no more end. And that name has a negative connotation. Mm-hmm. No other part of town has end attached to it. So it's the West Beginning. Yes, and the same principles within that project is the same for the whole city of Rock Island. Revitalizing. Not being somewhat of a desert, and in the sense of Rock Island, it's not having to leave the planet for amenities and services. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm very excited about how the city is excited. We're all looking for change, and I'm honored. I'm honored to be a representative to spearhead that. Very, very honored. Excellent. Well, I am very happy that you took the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I am excited for hopefully the work that we can do together.
Yes, sir.
And the constituents of your city, that we can help them build their businesses and grow. Because it's just better for the Quad Cities, as you said earlier.
It is.
No matter what city you live in, it's better for all of us.
Yeah.
Because we all have kids that, whether we're playing against each other in sports or playing with each other on a travel league, that's what it's all about. Yep. Like you said, that next generation and giving them something to want to stay here for, not move away.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Any way that we can help you.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Let us know if we can help. Anyway, we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that wraps it up for us today. Just so you know, please like, comment, subscribe. If you have any messages or questions for any of us, let us know. Put it below. And we will be here for you in another couple weeks with another episode with another exciting guest. But we will definitely do this again. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.